Hey, Matt here, and welcome to Mob Street. Now, normally when I buy something, I don't have buyer's remorse, especially when I buy a motorcycle. But tonight, man, I might be starting to have just a tinge of that remorse. Now, I'm in the garage. I'm out here with the KLX230S, and I wanted to kind of show you a few things that are kind of making me like second guess buying the KLX. Now, there are some things I like about it, but in this video, I want to show you some of the things that I'm just like, man, why? So, let's get started. Very first thing, I have taken this bike for a few rides, and I mean, I'll get into the things that I do like about it because there are a couple, but the very first thing with this, that seat is about as hard as they come. So for me, normally I can do like 8 hours on my TW and I'm okay. I can do maybe about 45 minutes to an hour on this. No, I am literally like, nope, I'm done. So I know that Seat Concepts makes a few seats for this. They have one that's a little bit more padded and then one that's another lower profile. And folks have said that that seat is actually really good. So first thing though that I don't like about the KLX is that seat. Holy cow. That thing is nuts. Well, it just doesn't feel good. So second thing, the brake line. Why on earth does freaking Kawasaki have to put that massive loop right there, and it's right in front of the dash? So when you're riding down the road, that sits right there in front of you. It's like, okay, why? Now, the suspension on this is sprung, so I mean, it's like not gonna be much more than what it is. And that loop, I don't know, just kind of crazy. So I don't understand that completely. Not the biggest fan of that brake line there. Now, the next thing is these mirrors. So I'm like, it's obvious that I'm not like the smallest stature of well, height-wise I kind of am, but like width-wise, I'm not the smallest stature of person. And I cannot see out of these rear view mirrors, like hardly at all. I have to like do some funky contortionist things to be able to see out of the mirrors. So, I mean, they work good. They just don't allow me to see out of the back of there. The other thing is this here kickstand. Now, yes, I am short, but when I put the kickstand down and try to lean over to lean the bike back and be able to get off the bike, that side stand is leaving the bike almost straight up. So as far as like the lean of it goes, I wish it was a little bit more. Now that might just be like a personal preference thing for me, but as far as like just the bike itself goes and just the standing of the whole thing, not the biggest fan. Now, another thing, and I won't do it in here because you're not supposed to run an engine in a closed garage without adequate air ventilation. Note to self. The next thing that I don't like on here is this bike literally idles so high. 1800 RPM, like I said, I'm not going to start it up in here, but 1800 RPM, this thing, it idles really high. I've had it on some trails and it's just like, oh man, you're going down, and I'm not the only one to complain about this, by the way. There's a lot of talk about this, but when you're trying to go downhill, you pull in that clutch, or you're going down into first gear and you're trying to just like tractor down a hill, that 1800 RPM sends you down like literally like at least 9 or 10 miles an hour. And it may not seem like that much, but when you're on a tight trail and things are kind of sketchy already, you don't want to be going at that fast of a speed, maybe even just to crawl it down, just a little bit more. But with that 1800 RPM that's on there, it doesn't allow you to. And the thing that I find kind of funny about this is The fix for this is to remove the idle sensor, tape it up so the computer still thinks it's there. Now, this is just my comprehension of the whole thing. But you take that idle sensor out, tape it up so that the computer still thinks it's there, and then to fix that, you know what you do? You get a manual screw to adjust your throttle or your idle. I mean, no offense, but isn't that why we got away from all that stuff in the first place? Is to have it be like more precise and this and that. And I mean, going to the electronic side of things, it just seems like counterproductive that the fix for the electronics are going back to manual. I don't get it. So the other thing that, and this is probably just a personal preference, but this thing with those narrow tires, coming from the TW200, those narrow tires feel so squirrely when you're cruising down like a dirt road, whatever it might be. It just feels a lot more squirrely to me than my TW200s. I mean, it is. It just feels like that back end's just swaying quite a bit more. And, you know, the stability of this is not the same as the stability of my TW, which is what I have to base this off of. So cruising down a road, I mean, the 6-speed is nice, but everybody's like, oh, you can go freeway speeds. Well, you must be a whole lot lighter than I am, because I've been able to hit like 65 on this, which over here in Utah, that's not a freeway speed. I would not feel comfortable getting that bike on the freeway. So the 6-speed, yeah, it is kind of nice, but at the same time, it's, I don't know. I mean, it's nice to hit that every now and then, but at the same time, it's like, I feel like it should be a little bit more when you're going down the back roads or whatever. And again, that might be just me, because like I said, I am a bigger person, so weighing 240, cruising my KLX230. So another thing that I don't fully understand, or that I'm not the biggest fan of, is the fuel gauge on this thing. So show you right here, you've got your fuel gauge, and I've mentioned this in another video, but this fuel gauge right here, it does not read accurately at all. It starts flashing empty way early on the bike, and again, it almost just seems counterproductive to put electric things on there that are supposed to take away, you know, the pain points of the older bikes, but nope, it hasn't done it just yet. One thing that I did want to mention also is, not only is the seat not comfortable for me, but for a passenger, I mean, so far, everybody that out of my family that's ridden on this, they prefer the TW, hands down, over this. Another thing that has been more of an adjustment for me is the traction on this bike. So it doesn't have anywhere near the traction that the TW does. It has more power. It definitely has more power, but as far as traction goes, it doesn't have the same. So another thing that I looked at as well that I'm not the biggest fan of is, obviously I bought the S, which is the shorter model, but with an 8.5-ish inch ground clearance, the ground comes so fast on that thing. And when you're, I mean, just riding like regular dirt roads and stuff, if there's rocks out there, I mean, your feet are going to find them a lot faster than what I'm used to with the TW. So I did install the Ricochet skid plate on here. I did do the video on that, and that actually saved the bike today. I went to check a road to see if it was going to be good enough for us to go and cut some more wood for the winter on, and look at what happened. Well, came up to see if this road was good enough to go and cut some more wood on. Look at this. Whoops. I slid out pretty good, bent up my shift lever, and look at the massive dent I put in that Ricochet skid plate. If that was not there, that would have totally nailed my case and just beat the tar out of that thing. But I mean, that's what the Ricochet does. It definitely lived up to its name. And look at this. This is how it's supposed to look. And that is how it turned out. So, I mean, trails wise, as long as they're good, easy trails, I think the KLX can do it. For just this, I mean, I don't ride hard trails at all. Mine are just like dirt roads with some rocks and stuff like that. But this one, it almost feels like it's more catered toward the street than it would be the dirt. So the fuel injection, like I said, and that idle are probably fine on the street, but out on the dirt, I'm just not 100% sold on it. And I hate to say that because, like I said, there's a few things that I like about the bike, but I don't know. And everybody's like, oh, the suspension is great on this thing. It's so good. And it is. It's nice, but when you're cruising down the road, that suspension doesn't matter when that seat is as hard as a freaking rock. So, I don't know. This is just a few things that I've found so far. I mean, I've had the bike for about a month now. I've put quite a few miles on it, just out and about and riding and trying different things. And obviously today riding in the snow, which, I mean, is my own fault. And I bent it up pretty good. But I've done that with my TWs. I mean, I ride those things on the road, on the dirt, all over the place. And so far, the KLX just isn't stacking up like I thought it would. Now, again, there are a few things that I like about it, so I'll do that video as well to show you what I do like about the KLX, because there are some very good things that it has. But just so far, with everything that, you know, that went down with it today, these are just fresh on my mind. I'm like, oh yeah, I don't like this, and I don't like this, and I don't like this. So just thought I would share those with you if you're looking at getting the KLX230S. If there's questions or comments, put those down below. If you think I'm completely out in the night, let me know. Obviously, I am not the best rider in the world. These are all just my own personal opinions and how I feel about this bike. This is not what everybody else thinks. This is just straight up Matt from Mob Street. So we'll leave it at that. Hope you found this video informative. Hit like, hit subscribe, and follow along because we got a whole lot more coming. I'm Matt. That is the 2022 KLX 230S. This is Mob Street, and thanks for watching.